Welcome everybody. Welcome also to all the participants of the live streaming session. We have quite some American participants as well who did not come all the way over, but will follow us via the live stream. This afternoon I will start, mostly because MMT started within Frédéric Constant, and I'm standing here also still as the CEO of Frédéric Constant, but afterwards I will introduce the new CEO of MMT, and he will present as well part of the presentation on where MMT will go. Before that, I would like to take you very shortly through what brings us here and what happened during the past year. All of you know that last year in Basel we introduced the horological smartwatch. That was the first time that an analog-driven watch was connected with an app, and we concentrated at the time on activity tracking, and most of you have seen the app for activity and for sleep. We had the development of this new caliber, but also the apps. Our own atelier, we used our manufacture activity at Frédéric Constant to build this first connected caliber. You can see here the PCB, so whereas normally, of course, we were focusing on mechanical movements, this time it's an electronic movement. But what's important to mention is that the gearbox is Swiss-made, the PCB was made in Switzerland, and contrary to what some of my colleagues have said in the press, this movement was fully Swiss-made, and also the new modules we are going to present will continue to be Swiss-made. We don't see any problem there, including the Swissness regulation that starts from first. We used our manufacturer experience also to build the construction of the caliber and to do the assembly in-house in our facilities. And then we set up this special horological smartwatch atelier for the more electronic side, the flashing of the modules, the testing, of course, that is different from the regular assembly and watchmaking and testing. And that was all done in this specific atelier at our manufacturer. We introduced some of the first watches during the year. Here you see one, the one I'm actually still wearing per today. And we had a few other models, including the blue dial version, which we introduced at this Basel. Finally, won even a prize from Bucherer in Paris for the horological smartwatch. So, that's a small introduction. That's what happened in the past. And now we are more going to talk about what we introduce here today. So against this background, we are now announcing the completion of the spin-out of MMT from being a subsidiary into an independent company. All of you know that our company has been acquired by Citizen Holdings, but they acquired the watch brands, Frédéric Constant, Alpina and the Monaco, and the watchmaking activity. Whereas MMT, the software activity, in fact, has not been acquired by Citizen and is a completely independent company now. Moved out of our manufacture here into Skylab building and will be developed in the coming years as an independent company. Of course, we also hired new people. Actually, there's only one employee, which is the CEO I present to you later on, who used to work already for Frédéric Constant. All the new team, and you see the management team here, we have up to about 12 people per today, but still growing. They are specialists out of technology coming into MMT and driving this team. With a vision to bring together technology, tradition, purpose, really to create elegant products. I would say also luxury smart products. versus the small black boxes that people also produce. We come with a real watch, but being connected. So we also really have defined for MMT the purpose to create products that improve the quality of life. That doesn't have to be only on the activity fitness side, but that can also be in other fields. And I will present a few introductions as well that are outside the typical health area where we started with. So, since the beginning of the year, when all became clear on where we were going with MMT and also with the rest of the company, we accelerated our development. And we are, and mostly I should say MMT now, is ready to introduce today 2 new calibers. So you see on the screen here, on the left side, the original caliber, which is the caliber that was introduced last year. And we have now in mass production 2 new calibers. One, very important, is a ladies caliber, which is the 281, and a new gents caliber. And they were fully developed in-house by MMT with the typical modular setup, so they're very easy to repair, and also in time to be able to replace, for example, the PCB, should that be necessary over time because of changes in technology. If we talk about those 2 modules, one, the ladies one, as far as I know, is the smallest connected caliber on the market per today. It's 24.7 millimeters. We also reduced the height from 7 millimeters to 6.4. As you can see, it has a little vibrator next to the gearbox. So we added haptic and vibrator functions for notification, for example. Still, those movements have activity and sleep. They also have possibilities for world time, and I will come back on the notifications in a while. The movement is in production and starts to be delivered to the watchmakers, being first Frédéric Constant, but we are also discussing with our other customers, Mondain and Movado, for example, from the end of September to start production of watches. Then, on the right side, you find the new gents caliber, and there the specialty is also the vibrator motor, those new functionalities of notification on top of what we used to have, plus a very big battery with which we can reach up to 4 years of battery life, which brings us into a normal quartz caliber, but with all the connected functionality. So let's talk a short moment how this is going to work, because that's a new way of displaying information. If you see this watch, this is the connected watch that is being produced with the gents caliber. And you see, it's rather small here, but you can see it more closely if you want later on. There is, in the mini track, a small walking man printed. Now, if the user presses the crown, the minute hand will point to the walking man, and the hour hand will first go to 12 o'clock, and then start to move to the percentage of activity that has been realized. Then, about 1.5 seconds later, 2 seconds later, the hands will go back to time. This way, we can display also, similarly, sleep at night, or calls that come in, which also will use the vibrator motor, or notifications. And that can be notifications on SMS, WhatsApp, various other possibilities. We discussed also either calendar notifications. All can be set via the app by the customer themselves. They can decide who they would like to be able to be notified by. You can imagine there will be moving a lot of hands on the dial, and that's actually intentionally. we have learned during the past year from customers that what they like most are the moving hands on the smartwatches. So that's something we did not expect when we introduced, but it makes sense. It really shows that something's happening with the watch that typically would not happen with a more traditional model. So that summarizes the modules, that summarizes, at least on this part, the hardware. Now, at the same time, we also introduced today 3 new apps. We have more apps in development, but we concentrate on those 3 because they really show to some extent the direction that MMT will go, and hence also its customers. One is called the Gym app, which is still in the fitness and health atmosphere. Analytics is in fact an app to measure the accuracy of mechanical watches. So we bring now a functionality to mechanical watches. And the password app is with something that most of us struggle with, is to remember all those passwords. So I'm going through all of them, and that's the last part of my presentation before I hand over the microphone to Philippe Fraboulet. So first, the main app, it's still there. It's called MMT 365. It's live on the App Store, still with activity tracking, sleep tracking, get active alerts, smart sleep alarm, and also world time. We are in the process to integrate into this app also notifications, so that those 2 new modules are going to be driven by the same app later on. The app will know when you pair the first time which module is in the watch you're wearing, and it will adjust itself to that particular caliber. Then we have the Gym app, which is a new app, which with another partner, the partner is called Virtua Gym. It's a company in the Netherlands who has meanwhile 8 million users. And this app is really having a huge community, so to let people also be challenged by friends, family, or the rest of the community, by setting exercises, by having different kinds of exercises also in 3D displayed in front of them. So it's a much more personalized health fitness type of program. It also comes with websites, so it's quite an extensive platform. And the Swiss Connect Gym app has already been published on the App Store and Android, and owners of horological smartwatches, including the ones that bought their watches last year, when they download the original app, the companion app MMT 365, they will get the instructions and the code to be able also to download Swiss Connect Gym and start working with that for free. Most of the functionality is free of charge. There are also some premium functions later on a subscription. Then something rather different is called Analytics. And Analytics is a combination of a hardware clip that you can place on any mechanical watch, and it starts to measure the accuracy of the mechanical movement. It will show the number of seconds the movement is of the watch is behind or in advance. You will be able to measure multiple watches, upload the data, including a photo, to the cloud, and see over time, when you measure a same watch again a few months later, what happened with the accuracy. Of course, around it there will be a knowledge base, there will be information, what the wearer can do, and finally there will be probably an alert that it will be time to do your revision of your mechanical watch, because we all know that after a number of years the oil starts to dry and the watch needs to be revisioned. The clip plus the app is going to be offered for $89, roughly. That's the price we have set for today. and is going to be available from November. Then, last but not least, the password manager. The password manager is really born out of what we see ourselves and what fits very well to the target group of Frédéric Constant, being younger businessmen and businesswomen. All of us, we are on plenty of sites. Everybody tells us every time, don't use the same password and log in for all of them. I'm sure half of the room is still doing that. But with this application, you will be able to log in with a actually military level encrypted password. You will also be able, on a secure cloud, to have the encrypted version of the password saved, so you can use it over multiple devices, including on your PC or on your Mac. So that concludes 3 new apps to extend the portfolio that MMT Swiss Connect is now offering. More, like I said, is in development, but we leave that for early next year to have some more surprises in the pocket. So, then, important, we are here today, like I said, to start MMT being an independent company with its own CEO and its own team. Actually, I'm standing here already halfway as the customer of MMT, like also the other brands, Mondain, Movado, and Ferragamo, and soon potentially others. So, as part of the spin-out, we have organized the transfer, the move, and also we assisted Philippe Fraboulet with the hiring of a team. I would now like to introduce Philippe to come to the stage and take over the word, and he will tell a little bit more on what MMT's capabilities are and also the background of the team. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. So I've been told we have a film. I don't know what we do, if we launch it or.
The world evolves. The old makes way for the new. But there are exceptions to this rule. There's a space where past and future converge. Located at Skylab, one of Geneva's main high-tech hubs, MMT Swiss Connect aim at providing the watch industry with innovative and powerful solutions. Horological smartwatch modules, firmware, apps and cloud. We are an independent Swiss company, and we offer full support for production. There is a space where past and future converge. MMT Swiss Connect, Swiss-made high-tech innovation at the service of horological craftsmanship.
Well, so 2 years ago, I was offered the opportunity to work with a very passionate team, Frédéric Constant, on a very exciting project, the first Swiss smartwatch. And these last 2 years, it's been an adventure, and it goes on today with the MMT Swiss Connect. So before joining Frédéric Constant, I spent more than 15 years in the field of technology. So I worked for the industry, for big companies like Siemens and Philips. And in the research as well, I spent time in the European Laboratory for Physics, CERN, here in Geneva. So I'm passionate with technology, and so is the MMT Swiss Connect team. So here you can see the management team. Here in Plan-les-Ouates, we are about a little bit more than 10 people already. You can see that the team is young, but it's very experienced and talented. the background of almost all the members of the team is the high-tech Swiss industry. So I'm very proud to present you the team today. They are very good guys. I'm very happy to work with them every day. So it's really a pleasure to continue this adventure with them. So now, let me tell you a little bit more about the technologies. So here you can see a sort of list of our know-how. This is our technology stack, the technology we can offer to our customers. So you can see 6 items, and I'm going to explain them or to go briefly through all of them. The firmware, this is the program we put in the watch, in the modules. So this is really where we try to put some intelligence. Of course, we develop as well the platform, and we develop actually the firmware and the platform. And for this, we use the most advanced techniques, like the Bluetooth Low Energy, or other low-power techniques or technology that enable us to have the longest battery life for our modules. So we have the applications. Peter already mentioned that. We have a portfolio of applications, and we have here in-house developers, and we develop applications for Android and iOS. We have the OTA, so this is maybe where I have to explain a little bit more. It means over the air. So we develop the firmware. When we want to have new features that we have developed, we want to push it to our end consumers, to the end users. So to do so, we finalize our firmware, we test it, and then we upload it to the cloud. From the cloud, it can be downloaded to the applications. And from the applications, the end user gets notification to upgrade the firmware in his watch. So it's a very transparent and very useful features that we offer with our modules. We have, the cloud. This is something very trendy. So our applications, they all have a data backup and restore feature. So it means that the user, he has some data, for example, activity data in his application, and he will be able to backup it and restore it. So he can restore it in any devices he can use. So this is something very convenient, not to lose the data and to be able to use the application and the data on different devices. So this is pretty obvious, but there is another thing very interesting with the cloud. This is that actually when you have this kind of feature, you create a link between the brands, for example, our customers, and the end user. So with this link, the brands, they are able to know a bit better the end consumers, their customers, and they are able as well to give them a better support. So at the end, this really improves the user experience, and this is very positive. So this is why we really think, we believe in that, and we invest in that. The manufacturing, so you have probably understood that we develop everything in-house. So we develop the hardware, the firmware, the software, the applications. We have a full team of developers here in Geneva. And we have as well a very strong network of partners, especially here in Switzerland. So all this really guarantees a high level of quality in the process of manufacturing. And by the way, so I repeat, but our 3 modules we have today, they are Swiss-made. Service. Service is something very important for us, MMT Swiss Connect, because our goal is to offer innovative products to our customers, but we know that technology is not easy for everyone. So we want to be there to offer end-to-end solutions, turnkey solutions, and to be close to our customers to give them support. So Yeah, we want to be there actually for them, and this is something we can do with some long-term partnership. So I think this is it with the technologies. So here I will repeat a little bit about the vision of MMT Swiss Connect. Actually, in MMT Swiss Connect, we all think that technology is fun and cool, but we want it as well to be beautiful and useful. So this is why, and actually this is where you can feel a little bit of our watchmaker DNA. We want things beautiful and elegant. The purpose, as Peter said, actually, is to really use the technology and innovation to improve the quality of life, of course, on the health side, but as well just to make life smarter and easier. So here we have the Swiss-made software label. This is a label we got actually a couple of weeks ago. The Swiss-made software label is a Swiss label supporting and promoting the companies, the Swiss companies, developing software here in Switzerland. So this is, of course, what we do. And actually, it is as well like a symbol for us, because we want to embody these traditional Swiss values of quality, reliability, and precision. But at the same time, we want to be fully involved in innovation. So this is it. Thank you for your attention. And I think now we have the Q&A.
Put some chairs up. So who would like to start with a question? Oh.
Yeah, there is a question here.
Peter, if I could come back to the analytics application. I imagine probably a lot of people have got questions about it, but do you have any plans to harvest the data, or will it just remain the user's own property?
Well, anyhow, we have a very stringent privacy policy on data. So, to be honest, at this stage, we have not set up a plan to start to use the data maybe on an anonymous basis. That could happen. We do that for the health data and for the activity data, very clearly anonymously. I'm not so sure whether for analytics it will be very useful, because we will have plenty of different type of watches at different ages. So even if we will start to combine some of the models from our neighbors, it will be very difficult to compare and evaluate that kind of data. But that could be an idea.
Hello, I have a question regarding the Vault, the password application. Why are you doing this, and what is the link between watch industry, passwords, and are you trying to replace one password, for instance?
So, well, I mentioned already before that it is very much to do with our core target group, businessmen, businesswomen. Of course, the link with the horological smartwatch is something that's not yet implemented, but we have clearly an idea over time to come with multi-factor authentication. We do not yet know how we are going to implement that and how we will do that. But that's the holy grail, that it's not just a password anymore, but that also by a push on your watch, you will really have a double authentication possibility. That's one of the links that may come in the future with the horological smartwatch. But the password manager itself is also really to show that we will develop, MMT will develop multiple applications outside just the horological smartwatch with what was done last year. That was over here.
Hi, Rob Corder from Watch Pro magazine. I'm just trying to get an understanding of the structure of MMT and the ownership, because it's a company that will obviously need capital investment. Is that capital being provided by Frédéric Constant and ultimately Citizen, and is it therefore still partly owned in some way?
So actually, MMT is totally independent from the Citizen Group. So it went out from the Frédéric Constant Group. So the owner is it's the Union Horlogère. It's how do you call that? I'm not even sure. It's a holding that is owner of MMT. So it's totally independent from Citizen and from Frédéric Constant now.
So Citizen could ultimately become a customer in exactly the same way as Frédéric Constant?
Yeah, I hope so.
So maybe to be more open and transparent, the shareholders of Union Horlogère are the original shareholders of the Frédéric Constant Group. So being primarily my wife and myself and two minority shareholders. And we have kept this part outside the sale of the rest of the company to Citizen.
Hello, and last year you had presented us with this kind of it was kind of a joint venture with this American company, Motion X or something like that. And they were involved in the creation of MMT. Is that still the case? Are they still present?
No. As part of the carve-out, we acquired the shares in MMT from Full Power Technologies. Plus, we acquired a patent license for the technology stack.
So the entire technology is in-house now?
Correct. Independently, Philip and the team are free to develop further, add, change what they want to do without the involvement of the prior American partner.
Thank you.
Peter, with having only hands on the dial, you're quite limited in what you can display. Is there any plans to bring displays on the dial instead of hands, or combine both hands and display technology to be able to display more information?
So, yeah, I think it's a little bit hard to answer because this is the choice at the end of the brand. What we've seen actually today is that you break a little bit the image of the Swissness, the Swiss watch industry, when you put a screen, a black dial. So this is what we experience. My opinion as well is that the screens, this smartwatch, as you mentioned, actually, this may be a technology that may not be fully ready and in line with what the customer really expects. You have to recharge your watch every day and so on. And then this doesn't really look like a Swiss watch. So I mean, for the watch industry, this is there are a lot of constraints as well. And as MMT, I mean, putting this kind of things with this kind of processor, we have the Swiss-made constraint as well. This is maybe too much of a challenge today for something that the customers may not be expecting. So.
What are your goals in terms of number of movement you plan to produce next year? For example, how many movement you plan to produce and sell in 2017 to say, okay, MMT is a success?
So we had a production of 70,000 modules so far, and our plan is to, in the next 2 years, to go to 200,000. It would be a success.
Okay, thanks.
How flexible are you at MMT? As Peter told before, you have customers like Frédéric Constant, I think Alpina, you have Mondain, you have Movado. If outside customers like Movado or Mondain want special features in the module regarding the indications and so, are you flexible to fulfill wishes of external customers?
Yes, as I mentioned, the service and what we offer is something very important for us, and we are very happy to discuss the ideas of the brands, and if we can make a reality out of it, we are very glad as well.
And having a digital display in the in the module, because maybe you can read your WhatsApp or you can read your SMS or whatever.
I mean, this may be in the future something that is common, but my opinion is that today it's a little bit early. And of course, if a lot of brands come to us saying, I want this, we'll think about this, I guess. As MMT Swiss Connect, I mean.
Peter, I was wondering if the new watches that you're announcing are comparable in price point with the first generation. And I was also wanting to know your thoughts on the importance of the pricing in smartwatches strategically.
So the new modules, in fact, are a little bit less expensive, and therefore we will be able to produce also watches that will be slightly less expensive. I'm talking about a few hundred Swiss francs than the original introduction. Mind you, also partly is that because there's only one gearbox instead of two. And to give an answer on your question, how important it is, I would say it is rather important. We have seen certain press articles and also certain reaction from customers where in the end they compared the original horological smartwatch with an expensive fitness tracker. Of course, that was not really the idea, but let's put it transparently out in the open. So if you look also at some of the other smartwatches, they are priced anywhere, say from 300-400 to 600-700, and that seems to me not necessarily for a Swiss-made watch, Swiss-made smartwatch, but it seems to be quite a good target to eventually go to. For this kind of watches. It all depends, of course, also on the finishing of the dial, of the cases, and to what extent the brand also has a certain luxury image. But we have seen last year, also among the customers of MMT, that the price sensitivity is clearly there.
You've been showing us a small caliber that was dedicated for women's watches, probably. What do you expect in the future to be 50-50 or 60-40? What are your expectations? How many women will buy such a watch, or do you expect to have more women than men? Or
so Frederic Constant per today is having around 35% of its watches for women, and so the balance for men. We have always said, and especially Aletta, of course, we have 50% of the women in the world, so eventually our sales should be split 50-50. That should be the ideal, and that's where we should eventually go. I believe on the smartwatch caliber, it's even more important to have a significant amount of percentage for women. Women are very concerned about their health in general, their fitness, their body. And so it is only logical that this ladies' caliber is going to have a very steep demand. We really have been asked during the past year, do you have a version also that is a little bit smaller, that is for ladies' watches?
And what about the price? How much will it cost? This MT282 or MMT281, how much will you sell it?
Well, I can, this is a trade price, so if you want to start a watch brand, maybe you can contact Philippe Fraboulet. He can give you a nice price there, maybe, I don't know. But Frederic Constant is thinking about prices from $695 till $995 for the collection that will be introduced in mid-October, end of October, on those new ladies' watches and gents' watches. So you can see there already there is a price reduction compared to the original introduction.
But so I cannot have a price right now if I don't start a watch brand. So you don't release it right now.
Well, you know, as you probably know from the watch industry, there are many layers and there are many distribution channels. And I don't think it is appropriate to start into the cost price level of individual components. That's what we have never done, and I don't think we're going there today.
What will the case sizes be of the ladies and the gents watch?
I think I'm losing the microphone, yes, back. I think the ladies is 33 millimeters and the gents is 42.
I can imagine that from the point of view of fellow Swiss watch brands, there is a reticence in buying something from another Swiss brand, and there would be even more so probably from buying something like this from Citizen. So is that part of the strategy in spinning out MMT, in being able to increase its appeal to the industry as a supplier?
Well, I respond on that, but although Philippe would be able to say something on it as well. I would say yes. Meanwhile, we are Dutch from origin and we have been here for 25 years. We're still from time to time surprised how maybe people think a little bit more in boxes, and especially in the watch industry. On the other end, we have Movado, we have Mondain, we have Ferragamo. And I think it's very important to mention and to really understand a technology stack that was presented by Philippe on firmware, apps, cloud, over-the-air capabilities, the manufacturing software that is necessary, the service software that is necessary. This doesn't make sense to develop just for one watch brand. The watch brands are too small to carry the necessary investment. And then it makes much more sense to invest this with an independent company and make it to the service of a number of brands. Finally, it's very much also the design of the final watch that differentiates between the different brands, and not necessarily what is inside. The watch industry has always worked like that.
And whether it's a man's watch or a lady's watch, it basically does the same function and works with the same apps. So why do you have two different sizes of modules?
Yeah, good question. Actually, you could make, I guess, a gent's watch with the small module. Actually, with the larger module, we have a larger battery and a longer battery life. So this is already, I think, a good reason for that.
It's only on the battery side.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the differences are, there are all other slight differences. We cannot really go into details here, but the battery size is something, I mean, for the end user, it's really a big impact. Then, I mean, the activity tracker, the Bluetooth, the connections, of course, it works the same. The application works the same, and this is right. But the impact on the end user really is the battery life. Then doing a big watch with a smaller module, I don't know exactly. I'm not an expert in watchmaking, but maybe this can lead to some issues as well.
Yeah. I can still make a note there. Look at all the catalogs of other movement makers. They always have different sizes, different modules, different functions. So to put in a lady's movement into a gent's watch never has been a big seller, because finally one of the journalists, I'm sure there's one here, will do a review and make it open the case, and it looks rather silly. But on top of that, what you mentioned, the larger movement for gents there is really having a big function there. It's a lower price, whereas the battery life has been improved, and actually it is interchangeable with the original module. So from a watchmaker point of view, we are able to use the cases for both movements. We only have a different dial and different functionality between the two movements. And that is also typical what makes the Swiss watch industry different from the approach from Silicon Valley, where you have only one watch in two sizes from one company, whereas we like to create many different designs in watches. Go in Basel, you see there during the Basel Fair, 5,000 different styles being introduced. And that makes the Swiss watch industry so attractive. That drives demand from customers.
Will you keep on producing the 285, or will it be replaced one day by the 282, or can it be replaced by the 282?
Well, I will answer this one also. That's something my wife is struggling with every day, being involved together with the management team and Sebastian Tornas in planning. I'm still wearing the watch with the 285, and I love the sub-dial at 6 o'clock. Of course, the price difference will certainly cannibalize this model, and then eventually you may ask whether we will maybe stop the 285 and have it replaced by the 282. I hope they will survive some time together. So any maybe questions from the live stream in the back? Or is everybody ready for a first drink at the cocktail?
Main of the question have been answered so far. We have only one, which is when can people download the new app password, for example? Okay. When are they going to be ready for download?
The new app password, this will be available in October, if I'm correct. The application Swiss Connect Gym is already available, or will be very soon, next week. The new version of the MMT 365 is okay, I think it's ready, but the modules will be available at the end of September, and the watches maybe a couple of weeks later. And the analytics is the fourth one, will be ready, and I mean the hardware with that will be ready in October, maybe end October, if I'm correct.
And the last question, partly answered but not maybe totally, is what about the first horological smartwatches? Will they also be updated with all new functions, new apps?
I mean, in the new functions, we have the notifications, so it could be possible. But actually, you've seen that the new modules on the dial, they have some icons in order to let the hands show the notification, the call, or the messages. And this is not, of course, on the old module. So I think for this feature, for example, we'll keep it for the new modules. But everything we develop for the new modules that we can put on the 285, we will do, of course.
Okay. Anybody, maybe a final question? No? So then I would like to thank you very much for being here. Also, Philippe. On behalf of Philippe. Let's go downstairs to the 5. There we have a nice drink for you, and there also we have the possibility to still speak. There are still some interviews scheduled, I understand, but it's also possible during the cocktail to really discuss and have some feedback. Thank you very much for being here.